Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me yet again. My name is Lady Bianca. So Lady is actually my first name, so it's Lady Bianca. So today I want us to talk about settling and the downside of settling, the dangers that come with settling. Settling is something a lot of us do when it comes to a lot of different things, but especially when it comes to relationships. People settle for, people that they don't really want to be with, but because they feel a lot of ways, maybe they feel desperate or something like that, they settle. People settle for jobs, for careers, for dreams, and settling is dangerous because once you go there, you can never come back. So I just thought that we'll look at the downside of settling. Okay, so firstly, maybe before we get into the video, well, let's just start by trying to define what settling is. My own personal definition is not a professional definition, but the way that I define settling is, uh, maybe I want something. I have certain standards, certain standards, and I have something that I really want to have or want to achieve. But maybe because I feel like I'm not going to be able to achieve it, maybe it's getting so hard, just too hard to achieve it or to attain what I want, I end up compromising and choosing to settle for something that's lesser than what I originally wanted. And that's how I define settling. So there are a lot of, the upside of settling is obviously the immediate gratification aspect of it. You get immediate gratification, because you've wanted something for so long and there's a counterfeit that sort of looks like what you wanted, but it's not really it. But because it's so close to what you really wanted, you just decide to settle for it. So, you get some sort of immediate gratification. I think that's the only, advantage that comes with settling, and also just feeling secure, not having to worry about working out for something with the risk of, not being able to attain it. So these are the only advantages I could find of settling. But now, when we look at the downside, that's where we find a whole lot of disadvantages of settling. So the first disadvantage, the first downside of settling that I found is that settling makes you compromise on your standards, okay? Especially when it comes to a relationship. Like I said, settling happens to us not just in relationships, it happens as far as, our careers are concerned, our dreams are concerned. When we make decisions, those small decisions like where am I going to work, what am I going to study at A level, what am I going to major in at university, which job am I going to choose over which other job, and that's when settling comes into play. Let's say, for example, you have certain standards of what you need in a life partner. You say I don't want someone who drinks alcohol. I don't want someone who doesn't have the same faith that I do, who doesn't believe in the things that I do. Then you also say you want someone who's hardworking, who is stable in their life. Now let's say maybe you get someone who is stable and you get someone who doesn't drink alcohol, but then this person, it doesn't go to the same church that you go to, doesn't have the same beliefs as you do. And then you say, well, because he meets those two other standards of mine, I can compromise a little bit on this one, because what if I don't and this person decides to leave? Am I going to get someone who is who has these standards that I'm looking for? What ends up happening is you end up compromising on your standards because you believe that you are not going to get someone who fits your standards. And compromising on your standards is something major when you think about it, because your standards are informed by your purpose. They're informed by your goals, your vision, where you want to go in life. That is what informs the standards that you then choose to have in life as far as everything is concerned. So when you start compromising on your standards, you are compromising on everything else. You're compromising on your purpose, your dreams, your plans, your vision, your goals. You are compromising on everything. So that's the first downside that I have of settling. Settling makes you compromise on on your standards, compromise on your purpose, compromise on your beliefs, on your goals, and that resets everything in your life. It readjusts everything. You don't have to readjust your standards, your beliefs, your vision, your goals, what you expected from life, what you want, what you need, because what you want and need is what informs your standards. So that's another downside of settling. It makes you compromise on your standards, and it makes you compromise on your life. Secondly, the other downside that comes with settling is once you choose to settle, you are closing the door to what you really need. You are closing, the chances of you actually attaining and acquiring what you really need. Let's say, for example, your dream is to be a doctor, and then you get to, let's say, maybe you get to your A level, and then you didn't do well in your science subjects. Maybe you have like a B or a C in biology, and then you're like, well, I can't really be a doctor with this result. So instead, I'll just do accounting or just do something in the arts, and that is settling, and you have closed the door completely to you being a doctor, because if you don't start, you're never going to get there. A better way to go around that would be to say, okay, I didn't do well, but can I do well, like, during A level? Or maybe can I start by being a nurse and then work my way up towards becoming a medical practitioner? And that's not settling. Settling is choosing to totally change focus, to completely change your dreams, because you are afraid that you're never going to attain them. And the disadvantage that comes with that is you have completely closed the door to what you really needed. You've closed the chance of getting what you really wanted in life. The same applies even when it comes to relationships. Maybe you had, like I've said before, maybe you had a certain idea of what you expect to find in a life partner. But once you settle with someone, once you choose to get married to someone or to commit to a relationship with someone, you have settled, and you have closed the door to the opportunity of finding someone who is more compatible with you, who is more suitable for you. So that's the other downside of settling. You have completely closed the door to finding what you really wanted, what you really needed, and you are going to have a counterfeit or something that is a standard lower than what you originally wanted. That's another downside of settling that I found. The third downside of settling that I found is you are always going to live a life of what if. You're always going to be thinking, what if? What if I had not settled? What if I had waited? Maybe I would have found the right person, the right job. Maybe I would have passed. Maybe things would have worked out well for me only if I had not settled. That is the downside. Once you commit to something that you don't really want, that you feel in your heart that this is not right, I should not do this, you're always going to be thinking, what if? If anything goes wrong in that relationship, if anything goes wrong in that career, if anything does not go well, you are going to be left with a question. You're going to be thinking, what if? Maybe if I had done this, I wouldn't have been meeting this. Maybe if I had only waited, I wouldn't have been with this person who's not treating me the way that I want to be treated, who's not compatible, who is not fulfilling my needs. That's the downside. And that's unfair to the other person. That's unfair if it's a job. That's unfair to that situation that you've put yourself in. Because imagine you get married to a person, but you're not really convinced that this person is right for you. And you're always thinking, what if? You are going to shortchange your partner, because maybe they are giving their all, but you are not, because you settled. You only compromised. You really didn't want to be with this person, but because of fear and because of being desperate, you ended up settling. And that's not being unfair to the other part in the situation. And that's not being unfair to yourself, because you are going to die thinking, what if? What if I had not made this decision? So you're going to doubt whatever it is that you're going to produce from that situation. So it's wise not to put yourself in that situation. It's wise not to settle. It's always wise to work hard and then be patient for what we need, because in due time, God will provide. Another bad effect of settling is the fact that settling is actually a major cause of divorce and heartbreaks. Because, if you try and research right now and try and find out some of the major reasons that are leading people to divorce, you will find irreconcilable differences, incompatibility. And this is a result of you settling. You knew what you needed before you settled into a marriage. You knew what kind of a partner you needed, what you expected from a partner. You knew that the person was either incompatible or not compatible. You knew all those things, but you decided to settle even with this wisdom, with this knowledge, that you had been given. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to get into a marriage, and then 5-10 years down the line, you're like, no, I can't do this. You wake up and then you find out that you settled, and you can't be happy in that situation, so you then end up divorcing. Now maybe there are children involved, the financial aspects to be considered. There's the issue that you wasted all those years of your life in a situation, in a marriage, when you could have chosen not to even make such a commitment with a person whom you know you were settling with. So that's the other downside. Settling really, really leads to divorce, because it means you settled for someone who you're not compatible with. You put yourself in that situation, and then now you put yourself in a situation where you have to end a marriage, where you have to bring all that, a sadness and heartbreak for you, for your partner, and for your children, and for your families. So instead of suffering all that, pressure and stress, don't just settle. Just wait for what's really meant for you, for what feels right in your heart and in your mind. Lastly, the last thing, and that I think is important, it's the last thing, but it's not the least important. Maybe it's the most important of all, is settling costs you your happiness. The reason why we have standards as human beings is because these are, what can I call them? These are the bars that we need to reach in order to feel fulfilled, to feel satisfied, to feel happy, to be at peace. We need to meet these bars that we set with our standards. But now what happens if you compromise on your standards? You're not going to be happy. There's always going to be this gap, and it's always going to be impossible to complete this gap, because you already settled, you already made a decision. So the result of that is you're just going to be unhappy. You're going to live an unhappy life, an unsatisfied life, an unfulfilled life, just because you chose to settle. So it's simple, guys. We don't want to, lose our happiness. We don't want to end up being part of divorce statistics. We don't want to compromise on our standards. We don't want to, and be in all these situations just because we made a choice to settle. So don't settle. Don't be desperate. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of not being able to attain your dreams. Continue to work hard. Continue to seek and to look for and search for what you need. Be it a life partner, be it a career, be it a job, whatever it is. Work to get what you need, so that at the end of the day you don't regret. So that you live a life with no regrets. So yeah, that's it, guys. I just thought that we would look at the pros and the few cons they are to settling. So remember, guys, to like, comment, subscribe, and share if you find this helpful. And until next time, peace.